They trained you to work 8 hours a day, but never taught you how to build 1 hour for yourself. Like you've been dependable for a paycheck, but what about being accountable to your vision? You'll see that the future is freelance, and those who win aren't just talented, they'll be strategic. This episode is about power, ownership, and building a path that isn't just stable, but it's also scalable. I'm comparing and going deep between W-2 and 1099. It's going to be a crazy episode. So without further ado, welcome to episode 16 of Everything Entrepreneurship, the podcast with Jerome Carter, the place for ambitious employees, skilled professionals, those climbing up the corporate ladder, and my working entrepreneurs as well. I want to take a moment to say thank you to everybody that's listening on Spotify and Apple Music, and even more so if you're watching this on YouTube. That's the best way to consume it because you got the visual as well, right? Please hit subscribe. We've been growing this community one by one. I'm not taking a single one of you for granted. You know, I appreciate every single like, even more so every single comment. I respond to every one. And I'm just proud that the vision that I saw to grow this community keeps on growing. So I can't thank you enough. And I'm going to keep doing my part in communicating and conveying some real value. The main thing I've been getting, as you can see in the public comments and even in private, I really appreciate the value. And I appreciate how you're not just doing this get rich quick, this low level that everybody else is doing. You're giving some real meat and potatoes, you know. They didn't say meat and potatoes. I said that because that's what I say, right? But in this episode, it's going to be an amazing episode. Stick through. And again, I love you guys because you guys have retention. Averaging 20 minutes on a 23-minute video, 30-minute video, 40-minute video, that's huge. Again, that shows that you care. That shows that you're here for a reason. And I'm going to give you what you came for. So without further ado, let's get into it. What if you never needed another job again, right? I said I'm breaking down W-2 versus 1099. Freelancing is a good segue into entrepreneurship, though it can also be considered as full-blown entrepreneurship. You'll have a solid understanding of everything I mean in a moment. We're going to start off with the illusion of security, right? I think everybody knows in 2020, we had a rude awakening that you could easily be laid off or furloughed. Even people that had money, even businesses that had money aside, didn't know what was happening in the world and how much money they would need or how long they'd have to hold out for, right? If I put a pin on that and I just focus on 2025, we just hit 5 months in and so many companies are announcing layoffs. Other than the federal government already cutting many jobs, UPS just announced they're laying off 20,000 jobs. Dell has cut 12,000 jobs. Chevron, 8,000. DHL, 8,000. Meta, 3,000. And many more. These are just well-known names that most people know. While many of these places are laying off people, you have companies that are just closing, right? Announcing bankruptcy or not. Joann Fabrics is closing 800 of its stores. Macy's closing 66 stores as part of a wider plan to close 150 underperforming locations. Kohl's is closing 27 stores. Walgreens closing 500 locations. Party City closed all 700 of its stores after a bankruptcy filing. Dollar General, everybody. It's uncertain times, right? And as prices continue to go up, entrepreneurship is a viable option. More so than entrepreneurship, just having a second revenue stream is needed. And that's what I'm always preaching, right? Whether you leave your job or not, you still need another dependable source of income just in case something happens with your current employment situation, whether it be your choice or theirs. You could choose to leave or they could choose to get rid of you. It doesn't matter if you've been there for a month. It doesn't matter if you've been there for 5 years. It doesn't matter if you've been there for 10 years. How secure is your job, right? So if you ask, KJC, why are you bringing up job security and how does W-2 versus 1099 deal with all these different places closing, right? Well, first I wanted to lay down the foundation that it doesn't matter what job you get into. It doesn't matter how big you get. Having to lay off and also close your doors can be inevitable for just about anybody. There's no guarantee anywhere. If we take that and then we also couple in the fact that AI is here, AI is no longer on its way, though AI is still in its infancy phase and has not touched nearly anything it's truly capable of, AI is already taking jobs. They say 300 million jobs could be lost to AI globally, within the next 10 years. 60% of tasks in advanced economies are at risk. 14% of jobs are already displaced, and 30% of workers fear their job will be replaced. Now, I'll quote one more article from one more person before we dive into exactly what you can do or what's on the table. I'll take a quote from Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn. In a recent article, he said, in under a decade, half the US population will be freelancers. Now, granted, he's already cited as predicted the social media boom in co-founding LinkedIn. He was also cited in predicting different industries like Uber and Airbnb. And now he's also predicting this, right? So what does that mean? That basically means employers that are downsizing or closing their doors are going to look for freelancers to do their work over traditional employees. And if all you have done is work the job, you might not understand the complexities of what that means. But I will show you how you can potentially benefit from it, right? Am I saying take what he says to stone? No, I'm saying take it with a grain of salt. So if we just look at the objective truths of everything that's happened just this year alone, we see that prices for everything are going up. People are getting let go from their jobs, no matter if they were just hired or have had tenure there. Businesses are closing and going into bankruptcy. And on top of that, AI is here to take jobs. So here's exactly what you can do, or here's an option that you can look at. So let me give you an example of W-2 employee versus 1099 freelancer and how far that can actually go, right? So in this example, let's say I'm KJC, I work at a marketing agency, and I want a job that pays a salary of $65,000 a year, right? And if I'm looking at $65,000 a year, pre-tax is like $2,500 every 2 weeks. After taxes and insurance, we're at like $1,800, $2,000. Let's just say $2,000 a month, right? And most people look at that and they say, $6,500, that means my employer is paying $5,000 a month for me, right? But what you don't take into consideration is the taxes they pay, the health insurance, unemployment, 401k, PTO. And basically, instead of $5,000, the employer is more likely paying $7,000 for me, right? So as a salary employee, they're basically paying $7,000 a month, though I'm only taking home after tax maybe about $4,000, right? So that's a big gap of about $3,000. Taxes everywhere, not in their pocket, not in my pocket, it's Uncle Sam's pocket. But at the same time, we have some hard numbers we can look at, right? So let's take it down. If KJC says, you know what, I was listening to this amazing podcast episode called Everything Entrepreneurship, the podcast with Jerome Carter. And since I was on YouTube, I pressed subscribe. But he told me, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Instead of applying to this job as a 1099, instead of applying to this job the regular way I would, knowing that if I get $65,000 every 2 weeks, I'm making $2,000, $4,000 a month. What if I follow what he said and I approached it as a 1099 freelancer? How does that look? Well, basically, if I offer the same service that I'm doing to a company, even the company that's applying for the position, and I say, hey, are you open to negotiations? And they say, in what means? If I was to say, instead of bringing me on as a W-2 employee, I want you to bring me on as a 1099 freelancer. I'll still do this full job description. However, I want to be paid upfront. And I know that you would be paying $7,000 a month for me as an employee. What I'm going to be charging you is $3,500 a month, every month. And you're going to sign a 6-month contract. Now, some employers are going to say, hell no, why would we do that? Somebody that actually knows numbers, somebody that knows opportunity risk might take a moment to have a deeper conversation. They might give pushback and say, well, what have you done so far? Right? This is where your resume, or if you listen to the other episodes, this is where your portfolio comes into play to show them how much value you have already provided for others and what you can do for them. Let's say they counter you and they say, you know what? I'm not going to do $3,500 and I'm not going to do 6 months. Best we can do is $3,000 at 5 months, right? At that point, you basically close $3,000 as a 1099 freelancer, where you get paid up front and you have the opportunity to do many more things than if you were an employee, right? So what does that look like? Pros and cons, right? Well, as an employee, you have your steady paycheck, you have health benefits, but you have no control of hours. Your income is pretty much capped. Taxes are handled by them, and you have security, right? As the freelancer, you get to pick your clients the same way you just pick them. You get to set your rate. You get to work from just about anywhere. You have room to scale. You have to handle your own taxes, and you have to take into consideration that your income varies, right? Unless you have like a solid clad agreement, though if they sign on for 5 months, something could happen and they only go to 3, right? But in this example, we got one person at $3,000 a month. Instead of getting paid every 2 weeks for a delayed 2-week cycle, now you get paid up front for the month, right? With that $3,000, you still got to take out anywhere from like 25 to 30% in taxes, maybe like 3, 5, maybe even like $600 for health insurance. And all your tools and systems that you use are going to come out of pocket. However, when you look at it at the end of the day, what you gain from that is your ability to execute and provide value for that one person. And if you can do it for that one person, we've now built room, we've built space so you can do it for 2 or 3. This is where this model starts to really kick in. It doesn't make sense if KJC is going to go from a $50,000 job making $4,000 to go into $3,000 before he has to pay his tax and all this other stuff. Where this really starts to kick in is, if this person just agreed for $3,000, what if I just get 3 clients, right? If I get 3 clients at $3,000, that's $9,000. Yes, you still got to take out 25 to 30% in taxes, but it's still going to be the same tools. It's still going to be the same process, because me as a freelancer, I'm doing this one job. I'm providing value in this one way. Most people, once they get like that's 3, 4, 5 clients, they tend to get help. Many people that are early on might even outsource, right? That can be a slippery slope depending on who you are, depending on the type of business. I'm not going to get too deep into that. But now we start to see, okay, I'm doing this job. I'm clocking in. I got somebody micromanaging me. But depending on how I move, let's just say KJC got $20,000 saved up. Let's just say worst case, he has $2,000 saved up, rainy day fund. By using everything that KJC and everything entrepreneurship shows on how I can leverage my 9 to 5, build in my 5 to 9, and strategically execute on the business that I want and need in my life, because I know my goals, they come from within, and I'm working towards something real. I can set this thing up so that within about 30 to 60 days, I can sign 2 to 3 clients at once. And at that point, I give myself room, I give myself space. Again, talking to or coming from another episode I already recorded, somebody could take their PTO, instead of going to Cancun, Mexico, they could say, I'm going to build out this freelancer model. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these 10 days I got. I'm going to take these 2 weeks. I'm going to take the 7 days I got. I'm going to prepare the month before so that when I have these days, I specifically execute on how I can do this. Because by doing this, yes, you have to be more accountable for the amount of money that you put aside in taxes. Yes, you have to pay your own health insurance, but you're building a system. And once you build a system, it's much easier to scale that, right? So the person that's going from 50K looking for something that's 65K, once you start to have these real conversations with people that understand how much money they're truly putting out, like most people didn't even know that an employer is paying that much more money for them on top of their salary. Most people just say, all you're doing is paying this, and it just doesn't work that way, right? So what's the reason why somebody should want to be a freelancer instead of a regular W-2 employee? Well, that should only be the case if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to have a reputation, and you truly want to build more, right? In this instance, depending on if you've signed a non-compete clause at your current employer, you could potentially build this out while you're still working. I know a few people, and even did some research on people that are working 2 or 3 remote jobs at once, right? It's remote. They schedule their meetings But at the end of the day, if they're getting three $80,000 salaries doing remote work, it adds up. So at the same time, if we know the facts again are things are more expensive, jobs are laying off people, they're going bankrupt and closing, and AI is here. What can I do to set myself up so that in these next 5, 10 years, I'm on the right side of this? I've built a system, I have enough money, I have the opportunity to process what's happening, and I can build a real business, right? Some people will just stop there. But this is what I said beyond. You can go from just being a freelancer that has a couple clients and you can build that to a full-blown business. You can have the employees, you can outsource certain tasks, you can have a virtual assistant. But regardless, you're building something of your own so that when things hit, you already have certain things taken into consideration because you're prepared for it. You don't want, I forget the saying, don't let life hit you, you hit life or something like that. Life takes a bite out of you, take a bite out of life. I don't know. Sounds nasty to be honest, but I think you get what I'm going at. So I want you to really, I'm doing this. It's Monday, this comes out. On Wednesday or Thursday, the deep dive of this, I'm going to do real numbers, different scenarios. I'm doing a deep dive of this. So if you're watching this before Wednesday, Thursday, hold me accountable. It's coming out. Because I didn't just come up with this topic for the podcast. Obviously, I've helped a couple people with this already. But the point I'm trying to drive across is the name of the game is extra revenue streams because so many things are so uncertain. And this is a solid and somewhat stable way to build it even while you're employed. You don't necessarily need to jump out the window for this, right? So take that into consideration. Segueing into the next segment, what's KJC been up to? What's the business like? What's happening on my side? I'm doing pretty well, thankfully, did a whole road trip. Had to move my mom back to Michigan. That was pretty fun. Drove 10 hours in a U-Haul and flew right back. And I was experiencing some of these flight delays from air traffic control in Miami. Drop a comment below. If you've been to Miami airport, trash. Maybe not the whole airport. Terminal F is trash. I'm sorry. I feel like I was in a Twilight episode. I was there for 3 extra hours and that terminal was trash, man. Oh my goodness. I was looking on the map and I see there were so many better things in the other terminals, but I wasn't going to risk it for the biscuit. I had to stay there. And horrible. What was the little boy? Terrible sandwich, by the way. That was a terrible sandwich. Terminal F at Miami. Other than that, getting business booming. I'm excited for this challenge. The Employee to Entrepreneur Challenge. This is the prerequisite. Sign up in the link below. This is exactly everything that you need to harness the untapped potential of your 9 to 5, structure your 5 to 9, and build the business, build that second revenue stream without being pressured to quit your job or to overexpose yourself, right? I don't know about you, but I know people don't want to waste time, energy, and money in the wrong direction. And we're applying, or we're basically giving you the proper information, education, so that you don't necessarily get a guarantee, you get the highest level of certainty. Certainty comes from clarity and confidence. And that's what we're instilling in this challenge. So go check out the link below. I'm obviously going to be talking about this more. It's 3 days. May 13th, 14th, 15th is coming up. And I expect to see you there. We can really get this thing turned around. Everybody uses fear to say things are coming. Hey, things are actually coming. And I believe in you. You can build something real and feel good about it. Right. Somebody said, you never spend enough time talking about yourself, KJC, because I'm not that special, man. I'm over here trying to make some great content, keep my clients happy, and just living life. You feel me? But I will go into some questions, If you have questions, send them, put them down below, as well as hit me on Instagram at kyle.jerome.carter. Shoot me a DM, and I will read a couple questions and answer them here live on the podcast. Where did Where did I put them? I had a couple. Let's do this in real time. Now, granted, these are questions. They don't say, hey, KJC. For the question's sake, the Q&A part, I'm just putting, hey, KJC. So no, each one of these people did not put that in the beginning of the answer. So, hey, KJC, is it even realistic to start something with everything I already have on my plate? Bills, family, and barely any free time? Well, that's a great question. Realistic, yes. As I said in this episode, there's a tidal wave coming, and it doesn't matter if you're prepared or not. And if you want to ride the wave instead of be swept into the current with everybody else, you're going to start building out the second revenue stream. It doesn't matter if what you build out is only enough to cover one bill, your phone bill, or the gas that you use each week, or your groceries. Just building something so that when you choose, if you want to push the gas and scale that up, in the event that you do lose your main source of income, it doesn't have to be a full scale business. It can be a side hustle. It can be an investment opportunity. The decision is yours, but you do need to do something. You know, in your question, you said you have a lot on your plate, bills, family, and barely any free time. It's exactly who I'm talking to. I'm talking to real people in real lives. So I'm glad you gave me this question. What you have to understand is, though you said barely any free time, you still do have free time. And if we look at your screen time, we'll see that you have even more time. You know, it's like that guy. He's manipulating time. I'm manipulating time. How many days do you have in your 24 hours, right? No, but for real. Start with 30 minutes. Force 30 minutes. Say, you know what? This is where I have 30 minutes. And this 30 minutes, I'm going to prep for tomorrow. So one day is going to be a prep day. Let's say it's Monday after work in your car. 30 minutes. This is what I'm going to do on Tuesday. I'm going to accomplish one thing to move the needle. I know when I get off work, I'm going straight to Barnes & Noble, and this is what I'm going to do. And then after that, on Tuesday, you go to Barnes & Noble and use 30 minutes to just execute that one thing. By doing this, what are we doing? We're starting a habit, because you can follow that up. Wednesday, you're preparing for Thursday. Once you do Thursday, now you're starting consistency. And with consistency, you have more confidence. And from the consistency and the confidence in executing something that moves the needle, you're getting more clarity. Clarity to what? Clarity as to what you need to do to build out what you want, right? So I would love to go further in depth. Obviously, I'm reading your question, so I'll message you back. We can build from this, you know. This is very common. A lot of people have this. Next question. Hey, KJC, I feel like I've outgrown my role, but I'm scared to jump because I don't have the same hunger I used to. How do I get back to that? Another great question. Now, when you say you're scared to jump, my main question is, because again, I don't know the context. Are you scared to jump as in like leave your job? Are you scared to jump as in jump into something like building a business, starting a side hustle or something like that? Or is this you've outgrown your role, you don't have the same hunger, and you're scared to jump to a different position or a different job in general? Whereas I don't know the complete context to this question, what I will answer is this. I recently had a conversation with somebody that held almost every high position you could have in this industry, right? And after about 25 years, they finally got a compatible salary, but with zero responsibility. And after about 4 years, they realized I don't have the same hunger. I want to ascend, not just monetarily, but I want to have something I work towards instead of just running on a treadmill, like moving, but in the same place, right? The first thing you need to do is figure out what you want to do. What does the rest of your work career look like? What does the rest of your life look like? Are you 60 and you're trying to retire in the next 10 years? Are you 40 and you're trying to spend time with your kids and grandkids? What does that look like, and what type of life do you live? The life that you live, is that afforded from the higher position that you have? Did that position come from the work that you did from where you are now to fill that gap? Or did you start a business while you were working, and you were able to build to that, and now you're able to spend time with those loved ones. This question is hard to answer. It's not fair to you for me to give you a step-by-step, do this, then this completely, because I don't know your complete situation. Again, I'm going to message you back. We can build upon this, but you have something in you, obviously, if you want the hunger back. We can build on that. Don't take any day for granted, and let's build towards something that you can be proud of, right? So I'll message you back. Great question. Let's do one more. Hey, GayJC, my lifestyle depends on this paycheck, but my soul is dying. How do I build something new without wrecking my finances? Well, you said paycheck and finances in here. So that means your life is very contingent on every penny coming in. It doesn't sound like paycheck to paycheck talk. This more so sounds like you have a lifestyle that is about to exceed how much you bring in. Like if you bring in 80K after taxes, your expenses are right there. You don't even have that much wiggle room, right? And I'll tell you something right now that my once mentor and now business partner loves to say. Like, money isn't the most important thing, your strategy is. Whereas you're looking at money right now, I want you looking at your strategy for the future, right? There's many things that you can control, many things you can observe, measure, and do that will affect you in a positive way without impacting in a negative way your finances. So if we first take the mind away from just money, again, once you realize that everything is not about money, it opens up a new world. You have a new battery in your back. Then you start to see how much more you can do, right? So if you're building something new, does it mean that just from my experience, when somebody says something like this, that means they had a great job, they lost it, got another one, and they understand stuff's changing, and they just trying to hold on to something and build something even more, right? This is another one. I would love to have a one-on-one with you, but I wouldn't use money as a crutch. I would look at or open your eyes to the different options that you can do right now and really hone in on where you want to go, because sometimes money can be the last thing needed, right? But yeah, this was an episode. I'm going to record, not today, I'm going to record an in-depth video breaking down some actual examples on a whiteboard of this W-2 verse 1099. So if you made it this far, I want to say thank you for checking it out. Share it to somebody else and be on the lookout for my other video. Until then, this is Jerome Carter, Everything Entrepreneurship. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And from the bottom of my heart, you can do this. You know, this isn't about motivation just to make you feel good. This is about instilling something that's truly in your heart already. You know you can do it, regardless of if you're scared or not, regardless of everything that's coming, you got this. So keep doing it. Every single day, do one thing towards what you got to do. I promise you're going to make it through this. But until the next time, it's KJC, Everything Entrepreneurship. Have a good one.